Good afternoon and welcome to the Rec Tech Showdown Season 2. Here I am joined by various technology providers who I shall be grilling about their technology, about technology in the market in general, their opinions on the way in which recruiters can engage with technology. And today I am really pleased to be joined by Nick Woodward of ETZ Payments. And ETZ Technologies. I will get through what your business actually is called and what they do in a moment. If you're watching this live and you've got any questions, you're welcome to say hi in the sidebar, add them to the sidebar. If you're watching this on Facebook Live, then hello. If you want to comment, pop over to the Crowdcast link. If you're watching this on record afterwards, it's very easy to get hold of me. I am Louise Triance. I'm just going to put Nick's LinkedIn profile link in the sidebar. So the way these shows are going to go is each week my guests will introduce themselves and their technology, and then I'll be asking a few questions. There'll be a follow-up blog with this which will have any links that we discuss in it, and then I will share that on social media as well. So thank you very much for joining me, Nick. Do you want to just tell me a little bit about yourselves?
Yes, I'm the CEO of ETZ Technologies. We've recently, I guess, just rebranded as ETZ Payments to reflect our transition to become more of a, I guess it's one of these trendy things that happen in technology. People tend to rebrand the company to pick up on the current zeitgeist. But yeah, we're moving ahead. We've always been an innovative company. We started off providing online timesheets, but I think the product has grown a lot more since then. It's quite a comprehensive platform for recruiters.
Okay, and how long have you guys been around? How long have you been in the recruitment space?
We've been around since 2000, so I'm kind of happy to say we're no longer a startup. A lot of people always say, if you're a tech company, you're a startup, but we've actually been around since 2000. That's 18 years. We were the first SaaS company in the UK, not just in recruitment, but in UK. So we were doing, single instance, multi-tenanted applications when I guess some people remember ASP, application service provision, was around. So we've been around since then, and just kept abreast of technology, and here we are today, still going strong.
You're a company who, when I first started UK Recruiter, which was 20 years ago, one of the early companies who I knew of and I've been working with on and off over those 18 years. Yes. It's great to actually finally interview you. So I guess my first question for you is, and this is something which recruiters always want to know, is in what ways does your offering enable recruiters to achieve their goals?
Mm-hmm. Well, in terms of the temporary contract market, which is where we're clearly positioned, the goal of a recruiter is to find talent, match them to the consumer of that talent, and once that's done, then the boring part, a lot of people in the back office, is actually getting paid. But that's kind of like the day in, day out transaction that has to occur, and that's pretty much what we do, and we do it. I think we do it quite well. So once a deal's been signed, it might be a 3-month, 12-month contract. That's where we take over. So we will do the onboarding in terms of the compliance, regulations, contracts, electronic signing of contracts, the setting up of the contracts, the timesheets dispatched, following up on the timesheets, make sure they get authorised online or offline, creation of the invoices, make sure they get out to the customers, and all importantly, provide the cash flow for the businesses to survive. Without cash flow, you can't achieve what you want to do. So it's kind of important. A lot of people think it's boring, but it is an important part of the business.
That compliance bit, I mean, I've never met a recruiter who's actually excited by compliance, but it's obviously key. Has that got more complicated over the years?
It has been, I think, with a lot of regulations. We've seen AWR, latest regulation, of course, GDPR. It makes the back office work more onerous, but it's really essential. I mean, if companies have survived, they've really got to take on compliance as a challenge, and we certainly do, and we look for a technology solution for our customers to be able to comply with whatever regulations are current or whatever regulations will come up in the future. So,
okay,
very evil.
Yeah, that technology partnership is crucial for lots of these compliance issues. I've just realised I haven't shared the your URL, so I've just popped that in the sidebar so that people can check out what we're talking about as we're talking. So I guess that in this space there are a few. I know there are a few other providers. What's unique about what you do? What makes you different?
I think in terms of what makes us different, I think it comes down to our technical architecture and platform. And I think it would be safe to say we're probably only in this area, the only single instance multi-tenanted application. Okay, what does that mean? It means we're able to scale. So we've got, on this one platform, we've grown it from, a couple of customers. I guess now we've got 400 customers worldwide. We do about 20 to 30,000 people get their timesheets processed each day, and it makes us, easy to expand our business without any additional costs. So I think that's what gives us the advantage over our competitors. So we only deal with one source, one copy of the source code. If it goes wrong, it can be disastrous. Everybody has a problem. We all have problems in technology. But in terms of making sure we fix that problem, you fix it once and it's fixed forever. Whereas I think a lot of our competitors have different versions running around, so what you might see may not be what you get, and it might be hybrid. And it's kind of back to the same problems we have with on-premise solutions. So that's what differentiates us, I think. Also, depth of functionality. We've taken a lot more than just back office timesheet invoicing. It's compliance. It's now got funding coming out now, so we'll be able to offer a one-click funding solution, and lots of other ideas in the pipeline for 2019. So
this funding part of it, when did you introduce that?
We're just in the process of doing it. It was something that I always had on my roadmap since inception. So I'd originally started the company to provide funding,
right.
And it was something we do have a lot of partners that provide funding. So we have people use the platform and they provide funding through the banks. We did try to do a deal with a number of banks, but it wasn't to our liking. What we did do is we've now sourced the finance from a wholesaler.
Right.
So it means we will be able to provide the funding directly into the platform without having to go via a bank. So we're sourcing the funding, we'll do it off our own balance sheet.
Okay.
And it kind of means we'll be able to do it a lot cheaper and a lot more effective. There'll be no overheads in terms of the disconnect that you have between our current system or any invoicing system through to the invoice discounters upload, using their systems. Most of their systems are very cumbersome.
Yeah, no, exactly. So not specifically around the funding, but around using the platform in general. Is there any size limitations on the size of client that you're prepared to work with?
No, we've, another innovation we've just released is the Startup 2020 product. So it's £20 a month and then £20 per contractor. And we'll deal with startups, 1 or 2 contractors. And in that product, it'll go up to 30 to 50. Mm-hmm. And then, we have a professional product, which is in the mid-market, which we're very good at. Mm-hmm. And enterprise, we have a lot of private equity-backed companies that use our product. So we do, cover the broad range, really.
And that piece for startups, I think, can be really tricky. And we get a lot of inquiries from startups trying to find the best providers who they can use now, but will grow with them. And that's obviously one of the benefits of using you, is that they can start with you as a startup, and then there will come no point where they'd have to move on to someone else. No,
that's what the bottom part of the market was always difficult for us, but we repackaged the product and came up with a more competitive pricing plan. So we're open for business from a startup right through, and really in the past we've always liked working with the startups because they give us the highest growth. So we start with a startup that might have 1 or 2 contractors. Within 12 months they're usually up to 10, 20. So that the growth for us we get through natural growth from our customers.
Yeah, no, that's great. Okay. Just stepping aside specifically from your product, but obviously an awful lot about technology in the recruitment space. Where do you see technology disrupting the recruitment sector or the recruitment industry?
Look, it's about automating jobs, and I know it's a scary thing. People are worried about their jobs. I haven't seen it, and I've been around for a long time, longer than I care to admit. What tends to happen is that people augment the technology. So, for example, in our case, a lot of the jobs that are repetitive are replaced by our technology. But what it means is that you then have time to engage with your customers more. So instead of being flat out processing papers and you can't talk to your customers, it actually gives you time to talk to them. And it's true even with our business, we will say install the product and then we never hear from our customers. We would ring them and say how it's going. Yeah, it's going great. We don't need to contact you. Everything's fine. So even in our own business now, we've taken on more support representatives, and their job is to go out and talk to our customers, get to know them, get feedback on what else would you like to see. Mm-hmm. So I think the same can happen in recruitment. It's about having a personal relationship with your candidates and with your clients and taking feedback on. It's really important. I think there are a lot of similarities between what we do and what recruiters do. It's about saying, well, how could we improve the process? And if that's fed back to us, then we would tend to implement that into our technology. So it's a continuous loop.
I think the automation piece is something you're absolutely spot on with, that being a concern to recruiters. But the robots are coming, they're taking your jobs. But what you're saying is absolutely right. It's about automating elements of it and then retaining the recruitment being a contact sport where you are actually in real conversations. And I think we're moving towards that. And I think that it's interesting that like technology like yours, all levels of technology in the recruitment space are going to be having to look at those type of innovations. I mean, you might not have chatbots in yours, but there will be lots of different elements of that type of automation. I've got a question for Mike, but I wanted just to ask you something, which is a follow-up to that question, which is around this Uberification, if that's a word, of industries. Do we
Yes.
see an Uber moment in the future of recruitment?
I think we will. I think the two key things that Uber do as a platform is they connect people and they make the payment painless. So the things that are great about Uber is that you get connected directly with a driver who will come and pick you up, and then when you finish the journey, you get out and the fare's been paid. Yeah. It would be true to say that most people, would prefer that experience rather than if you're in a black cab at the end of the journey, he's going to say, have you got cash? No, I haven't got cash. Okay. It's a convoluted process. It takes about 1 to 2 minutes. Now, you might say, okay, it's not long, but if you think about the number of journeys that happen every day, that's a lot of time that's being wasted. Yeah. So I think it applies to any industry. It's about customer acquisition. How quickly can you get a staffing resource to a consumer? Yeah. And how can you make the payment process a lot simpler? And they're kind of the things that we're working on. We talk about funding. We've got some ideas about how we can also go into, I wouldn't say the CRM space, but certainly in terms of customer acquisition, that same area. We've got some great ideas on the drawing board. We're kind of in sort of proof of concept with them, and these are the things that we'll be doing in 2019. And I think we will have that Uber moment, and I think it's going to happen. Look, it's not going to happen next year, but it's going to happen over the next few years, I would say. No, okay, I think you're right. I've got a question from Mike, so I'm going to ask that, but I'm going to come back to this, the way in which your company is transforming. So I think that's quite an interesting point. So Mike has asked whether you can, now probably I'll put you directly in touch with Mike, so don't feel you have to give an enormous level of detail because we've got quite a lot of viewers, but Mike's asked whether you could explain what the differences in functionality are between the startup level and the other levels for customers. There's not really that much. I mean, again, I'm going to use the Uber example. Is if you think about, in the past, you would have had to deal with a mini cab firm, and they ran 10, 20 cars. They'd come, they'd have a centralised point and they'd dispatch the job. Or you deal with a big company like Addison Lee, you'd ring up and they'd dispatch the job. At the end of the day, your individual relationship is with the driver. And if you solve the problem of how the driver interacts with the business, then you can scale that from one driver to 10,000 10,000 drivers. And it's the same. If you solve the problem for one recruiter as to how his back office is processed, then it's easy to scale it out to 2,000. So it's a different way of attacking the problem. What most recruitment companies do, or, you know, it's kind of same in any business, is they tend to say, okay, look, this back office job is a real pain. We're going to centralize the process. But when you centralize it and you have a centralized function which is handling 400 of the transactions, you actually make the task more complicated. In terms of automation, if you solve it once and then replicate that, it is a much more efficient process. It sounds contrarian, but it actually works out that way. Because the more repetitively you do things, we find this in software, the more often we make releases, the easier it is. When in the old days, we'd make releases once a month, and, you know, you'd plan for it, you'd spend the whole week, and then inevitably it would be a complete cock up. Next week, going to fix it. So now we fix things if it falls over. I mean, you know, we do a lot of testing, but if it falls over, we can roll it back straight away and fix it and then roll it out again. So,
okay. And
lots of similarities in, you know, I find there are lots of similarities in every business in the way it works towards that Uber model. And if you use that as a model and have a clear idea of where you can see your business going, then I think you'll get there.
Okay. So for a business who are coming to you in the early days as being a startup, is the service, you're saying the service level they get from you is no different from if they've got 1,000 contractors on the books? No,
because we look at everything, you know, each individual assignment or placement is a unit of work. So whether we're doing that once or doing 1,000, we do that concurrently, it's the same thing. Okay. Hence, you know, I often say to large companies, they say, oh, look, we don't think we could use your software. We've got 5,000 temps, and we've got, you know, 2, 4 or 5 different business units, different brands. And I go, well, look, actually, we've got something like 500 different brands. There's no common ownership, right? But they all use the same platform. Now we can, you know, parameterize it and configure it so everyone works differently. So an IT company works differently from a blue collar, but they're all using the same software. So there's no reason why that model can't be, you know, taken into a larger organisation.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that. And a technical question I'm going to read out here, which is, does the locum flow system facilitate framework payments?
Yes, the locum flow system is actually new. I'm glad you asked that question. So we're in the process now of getting onto the framework, but the technology has been used for the last 5 years. So Liaison, which were one of our partners, we developed the software with them. That's the system that was been used over the last 5 years. We've, you know, that contract's ended, so we're now coming into the market, and we'll be offering that software in the same pricing that we provide to the recruitment sector. So the NHS is going to love that once we've got that up and running.
Great, thank you for that, Mike. I wouldn't have known to ask that question, so I like that. So the question I was asking you earlier, which was, you were talking about the I guess the way in which your business has changed slightly. So now ETZ is a fintech company. How did you transition from back office software to fintech? And I mean, I guess there's a very lesson in there for other people in similar positions.
Yeah, it's you know, look, I guess fintech's a general term, which is just saying, look, we have technology around the financial part of the business. So we currently, you know, we already process some, I think it's about 200 or 300 million pounds of invoices per month. So it's quite, you know, it's quite a large volume. I don't think there are many companies that would do that volume. I think we looked at that and said, look, in terms of turnover, it probably places us in the top 10 recruitment agencies globally. So we, through the platform, can fund that quite easily. You know, we're sort of testing this quite now. So basically, it's as simple as saying, click here and this invoice will be paid, or click here and this batch will be paid. So it was a natural progression. I guess fintech is branding. You know, any company can claim to be fintech. We've just positioned ourselves so people have a better understanding of where we're going as a company.
Okay, and I think that is a good point in this market, is that we do, you know, I classify people in my directory, businesses in my directory, by what they do, and I think there's a lot of different technologies out there, and for recruiters to know who they're dealing with, which is one of the reasons we're doing these shows, actually, is so that we get a better understanding of what this business actually does. So obviously you're evolving. How do you see the platform evolving, maybe over the next couple of years? Is that, I mean, I know you've touched on some stuff, but can you give me a few highlights of where you're going?
Yes, I think in terms of our product roadmap, we want to be a one-stop shop for recruitment technology. So see more of us providing CRM, ATS applications, job posting, the whole gamut. The hosting, it'll all be hosted on Office 365. It's on the Azure cloud, so we just made that transition to the Microsoft Azure platform. We want to do more and more, and we want to do it for less and less. So we currently, our pricing is £15 per user per month. It's very competitive. That will hold, and you're talking about for a seat, a CRM seat. Currently, the market rate is about 50 to 100. We'll be looking to provide that for 15. The more market share we get, then we expect that to come down, and that's going to be approaching down 10, coming down 10, 5, and it kind of likely, I would say, that's coming down to 0, and we would make the profit through the funding, the actual funding. So wow. If we get to a critical mass where we say we're funding £200 million of invoices per month, 1-2% of that, it would probably make commercial sense for us to say, hey, use the software. The more people use the software, the more money that goes through, the more we'd be funding. So that's kind of what, and that's a trend I see in the industry is software is not going up, it's going down. Look, we put a price increase through at the beginning of the year. We had to do that because we had some challenging issues in terms of GDPR and infrastructure. But I can tell all of our customers now that's the last price increase. It's only going down from this point. So it's good news for all of our customers.
I like that. And in terms of the client base that you'll service, I guess that this will broaden that this will mean that I guess at some point anybody in the recruitment space could become a client.
Absolutely. I mean, I would like to see that. My vision is that there is only one platform, and it's the ETZ platform, and everybody's using it because it's free. And we provide a one-stop shop for all your tech. So it's all hosted on Office 365. You ring up one company, and we're going to sort your problem out and provide the same level of service as we do now and have done for across all of the tech that we provide. At the end of the day, we're a technology company. That's what we're there for, and we are in the recruitment space, and we want to keep growing. We've got lots of ideas, and we've got resource to do it. So let's go out and do it.
Some interesting competition then for the likes of Bond, Firefish, Bullhorn, business, e-recruit, businesses like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, the thing is, it's about creating a platform. So we will always provide a entry level, which should be at £15, but it doesn't stop our, we already have existing partnerships with Bullhorn. They can plug into that. So if customers want to pay the extra, they can see the value, they can continue to use Bullhorn. What we want to do is give a level that is cost effective, so £15 and less per seat. And then if you see the value with any of our partners on that platform and it can be justified, then do it. And look, some of this technology may come through acquisition. So I've sold the business, in the process of selling the business into a private equity fund. So we've not any shortage of capital there, and we're looking at this as a global proposition as well. So it may make sense, rather than us developing the technology, to acquire some of our partners and just plug that in.
That feels like an exclusive. We're going to come back to that at some point off the record.
Okay. I'd be happy to give that to you.
Okay, so my final question is that with so much technology available, and we are kind of slightly touching on what the answer to this question is, but with so much available, how can recruitment leaders and practitioners prevent themselves from getting bogged down in that overload?
Just come to ETZ and we'll give you one-stop shop for everything.
Do you think that is the solution? Do you think it really is?
I think it is. I think with all industries, they fragment. We see a lot of the technology providers, they're providing features rather than systems, and I don't think it's sustainable, because if you're providing a feature, for example, if you come to market with chatbots, well, kind of chatbots are available out of the platform and in the Azure platform, so we use that. There's no reason why we couldn't provide chatbots tomorrow. Personally, I don't like them. I think I find them annoying. But that's not to say if our customers want them, then we'll put them in. Yeah. But, artificial intelligence, cognitive services, they're all there, and that's some of the exciting things that our developers are really, championing the bit to do, and they're the sort of things that will be happening through 2019.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it is a matter of fragments, but then industries tend to consolidate again. I think we're going to go through a consolidation phase. Certainly, what keeps me awake at night is I want to be ahead of the curve, and I want to be the consolidator, not the consolidated.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a really, really good point. I think some of these things like chatbots, they are features, they're not products in their own right, but we are still at the stage where they're being bought as a product. So cool. Well, there's some really exciting stuff ahead for you guys. Obviously, already offering a fabulous service to quite a broad client base.
Yeah.
So you and I need to catch up again this time next year and see where you're at. But for the moment, if people want to get in touch with you, I've shared your website URL, your LinkedIn profile. I'm guessing they're the best ways people to make contact with you. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yes.
All right, great. And I will add all those to the blog post at the end. So thank you for all of you who joined us. If you're watching this on record, do get in touch with myself or Nick to talk about some of these things. And I'll be back next week with another show, not with a similar provider, thankfully, because that would be awkward, seeing as Nick's just told me this is the only product you need. And thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody for watching. Bye.